In the old days, we had the Friendly Sons black tie dinner on the holy day itself. And that created a complex set of issues for people to deal with. One was that from about 1978 or so onward, the in-case trios would start playing usually about noon, worst case 1 o'clock, and so the drinking would commence then. And so by the time you got to 6 o'clock, everybody had a snootful, and then it was time at 5:30 to rush home or to your hotel room and get a tuxedo on, and then make your way to wherever the black tie dinner was. And so for many years it was over at the U.S. Grant, and we would take over their lobby, which was a beautiful lobby, is a beautiful lobby, for that purpose. And so the dinners involved a much higher level of blood alcohol at the beginning than was probably smart, and that had consequences in terms of the behavior, in terms of people going face down in their mashed potatoes, a whole series of issues. It also involved a complex set of negotiations with spouses, many of whom had accompanied the frivolity during the afternoon, listening to the in-case trio, and then were told politely, or maybe not so politely, at 5:30 to get lost because we were all going over to have fun without them at the black tie dinner. The highlight of that whole scenario was probably the puppet show that somebody decided to put on as the entertainment one year at the black tie dinner, and they had some cat come in with a whole big setup to put on a puppet show that for some reason somebody thought was going to be terribly entertaining. It was found wanting in the eyes of the majority of those in attendance, which resulted then in a barrage of dinner rolls going up on the stage, aimed initially at the puppets, then at the puppeteer, and eventually at anyone that moved. That resulted in a subsequent ban for at least a decade of dinner rolls at the dinner. So you'd have to have a black tie dinner, but you couldn't have any dinner rolls. You had to have some bread that people couldn't throw, basically, in order to deal with it. But a more successful adjustment that solved that behavior was the decision to have the black tie dinner on the Friday evening before the parade, so that those of us who were in the habit of marching in the parade could go to the dinner, fall into bed, often at a hotel room downtown, then roll back out the next morning and get up to Balboa Park in time for the 9 o'clock opening of the keg and the beginning of the preparation for the parade. And that was a much more civilized evening, and a much more civilized way to get yourself down to Balboa Park, and avoided a whole number of people spending time driving around the city in a situation where they shouldn't have been driving around the city. And so that was one of the ways in which we evolved over the years to better manage our and coordinate our activities along the way. Speaker stories.